Continue on to the next chapter, chapter 8, Pyramid Power, Our Key to the Golden Age by David Wilcock. The Source Field Investigations by David Wilcock. The ancient prophecies do not speak of a worldwide extinction. They foretell a coming golden age. Even better, we have now found a significant number of technical details in the Great Pyramid's measurements, including the Earth's exact size, the precise length of a year, the distance from the Earth to the Sun, various planetary dimensions, star alignments, the precession of the equinoxes, suggesting its builders may have also been responsible for succeeding the ancient world myths and prophetic religious teachings themselves. Yeah, I'll read that again, I'm sorry. Suggesting its builders may have also been responsible for seeding the ancient world myths and prophetic religious teachings themselves. What if the pyramid structure itself was part of the message we were supposed to inherit? Could it be working technologically? Could it be a working technology utilizing a science we have not yet rediscovered on a mainstream level? The pyramid power movement in the 1970s has been laughed off by skeptics as a brief flash of gullible behavior on a mass scale. Much of the excitement originated in the story of a Frenchman named Antony Bovis. I'm really bad with names, so I'm sorry if I butcher a name here. Who allegedly visited the Great Pyramid in the early 20th century. According to the legends, in many of the 1970s pyramid books, Bovis found a garage can in the king's chamber with corpses of cats and other small animals in it. Strangely, they did not smell bad, but appeared to have perfectly dried out and mummified, rather than having rotted away. If the Great Pyramid was indeed a tomb, then perhaps the Egyptians didn't need to work that hard to mummify the bodies of their beloved leaders. Simply pop them in a sarcophagus, give a little time for the magic to occur. Pull them back out, and now the pyramid has done all the work. History has not been kind to these beloved legends. In 1999, a former director of the Egyptian National Museum told a Danish skeptic there was never a garbage can in the king's chamber that could have held the bodies of dead animals. Furthermore, even though many authors went into great loving detail about what Bovis felt, saw, and smelled as he shuffled through the garage can, the truth is that he never even felt France. He never even left France. And the legend of this visit to the Great Pyramid was created by other authors who misinterpreted his work. What did actually happen is that Bovis built a 30-inch tall wooden model of the Great Pyramid as his home in France. Ready for transport. And claimed to have mummified a dead cat by leaving in the king's chamber. In the king's chamber position. According to the same Danish skeptic, Jens Lagarde, it may not at all be a hoax. Thousands of people have tried leaving various footstuffs inside a pyramid, and they have advanced numerous assertions that pyramid power can preserve fish, meat, eggs, vegetables, fruit, and milk. Cut flowers treated by the energy will, by all accounts, keep their color and fragrance. Moreover, coffee, wine, liquor, and tobacco are said to give off a more appetizing aroma after a turn in a pyramid. The skeptics' website that reprinted the Danish author's work revealed their true feelings in their endnotes, claiming Bovis formed his pyramid ideas through armchair reasoning and occult experiments. Despite these skeptical dismissals, further research reveals that Karl Drbal, a radio engineer in Prague, successfully repeated Bovis's armchair occult experiments in the 1950s with several different dead animals, preserving them quite nicely. Jabal concluded that there is a relation between the shape of the space inside the pyramid and the physical, chemical, and biological processes going on inside that space. Hmm. Though he wasn't sure why this was happening, Jabal was also the first to allegedly discover in 1959 that dull razor blades would be sharpened if he placed them in a pyramid-shaped structure built out of cardboard. Many East European countries had difficulty finding good razor blades during this time, so there was genuine interest in seeing if the pyramid trick really worked. The patent office in Prague refused to honor Jabal's requests to protect his discovery unless their chief scientist could get the same results, and sure enough, he succeeded. Jabal was thus awarded Czechoslovakian patent number 91304 91304 for the Cheops Pyramid razor blade sharpener. In fact, this product was still being manufactured out of styrofoam when Lyle Watson wrote about it in his excellent 1973 book Supernature. That's not all. In 2001, Russian scientist Dr. Vladimir Krasnhal Ovitz repeated Jabal's legendary razor blade experiment and proved with scanning electron microscope photography that the pyramid shape was able to change the molecular structure along the cutting edge of the razor blade. Unlike what Jabal seemed to have discovered, a north-south alignment did not appear to make a fresh razor blade any sharper. However, an east-west position had a clear, measurable dulling effect on the blade, transforming its straight, flat surfaces into lumpy, bumpy, wave-like curves on a microscopic level. This is obviously not supposed to happen in conventional science. Lyle Watson, the author of Supernature, also repeated Bovis's original experiment with eggs, rump steak, and dead mice, and found that the ones in the pyramid preserved quite well, while those in the shoebox soon began to smell and had to be thrown out. I am forced to conclude that a cardboard replica of Cheops' pyramid is not just a random arrangement of pieces of paper, but does have special properties. Without citing specific references, on the next page, Watson shared additional intriguing leads. A French film once patented a special container for making yogurt. A French firm once patented a special container for making yogurt because the particular shape enhanced the action of the microorganism involved in the process. The brewers of the Czechoslovakian beer tried to change from round to angular barrels, but found that this resulted in a deterioration in the quality of their beer. Despite the fact that the method of processing remained unchanged. A German researcher has shown that mice with identical wounds heal more quickly if they are kept in spherical cages. Architects in Canada report a sudden improvement in schizophrenic patients living in trapezoidal hospital wards. How could such spectacular sounding discoveries possibly be true? By this point, I can understand the skeptic's reaction. Very little of this research has been done in the United States, and it also seems to violate many of the cherished laws of physics. Hardly anyone in the Western world is aware of the Russian investigations into the source field that we will discuss later on, in which these strange anomalies have elegant new explanations. In this chapter, I ask you to be patient with me as I explain to you all the different things pyramids can do. Because until you see the full extent of what we now know, any preliminary explanations will be incomplete and difficult to understand. Our ancient ancestors were confident enough in the value of this technology that they erected the most perfect structure in recorded human history as a pyramid shape, not a big square box. Many other magnificent pyramids appear throughout Egypt and South America, and new research suggests there may also be pyramids in Bosnia, Italy, Greece, Slovenia, Russia, and China. Among others, though must among others, though most of them, except for the ones in China, are covered with dirt, trees, and other vegetation, making them harder to spot. Some of them may also be natural mountains that were sculpted into a pyramid shape. The the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun would be over twice the size of the Great Pyramid. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun would be over twice the size of the Great Pyramid. And the geometric symmetry of this unusual mountainous area is very compelling. Why keep manipulating these massive, multi-ton stone blocks again and again, shape entire mountains like pyramids, and or build giant pyramid-shaped mounds of dirt if there's no good reason for doing so? Why would so many different cultures independently get the same idea to build structures using techniques that may very well surpass our own level of technology? Once you start exploring the mysteries of what pyramids can actually do, they make much more sense. Question for me is, where did they get the idea at the same time? So here's the, obviously the source code. I don't need to be a smartass, but it's really interesting. So here, this is the, I think this is the mountainous pyramid that he's talking about here. Pyramid that they've sculpted, a mountain sculpted into a pyramid. And it's covered in dirt and vegetation, which makes it a little hard to spot for some of the pyramids out there. So that's pretty interesting. It's really cool. Here's it's an aerial view of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, which is not yet acknowledged by traditional archaeologists as an intelligently designed structure. Clearly, you can see it's a pyramid, so it's intelligently designed. Pyramid power reboot. Regardless of the facts, the entire concept of pyramid power had collapsed into little more than an urban myth until 2001, when Dr. John DeSalvo's Giza Pyramid Research Association website first published the results of breathtaking new Russian pyramid studies for the Western world. The story begins in 1990 when Moscow scientist and defense engineer Dr. Alexander Golod began building large pyramids within Russia and the Ukraine. 17 pyramids have been constructed by 2001 in 18 different sites within Russia and the Ukraine. And by summer of 2010, more than 50 pyramids have been built worldwide, with the majority still in Russia and the Ukraine. Dr. Golod built each of the pyramids from an internal framework of PVC pipes covered with fiberglass sheets, forming smooth faces. They were also built to fit the golden section, the so-called PHI ratio of 1 to 1.618 that appears so often in the growth patterns of living organisms, such as the spirals of seashells. The proportion makes Golod's structure steeper than the Great Pyramid, with a slope angle of about 70 degrees. The top stretches up to distance about twice as high as the Great Pyramid goes. Relative to the perimeter of its base, making Golod's pyramids look more like obelisks, church steeples, or the betyls on Greek and Roman coins. Golod's largest pyramid soars at 144 feet, 44 meters in height, weighs more than 55 tons, took 5 years to complete, and cost him more than $1 million to build. It was finished in 1999 and used non-conductive materials without a single metal element. Golod found that any metal in the pyramid structure caused the seemingly magic effects to significantly decrease, if not disappear entirely, as if it had an absorbing effect upon whatever mysterious energy fields might be at work. This is one of the key design elements that could make a skeptic's attempts to replicate pyramid power fail. In the U.S. Capitol, the Washington Monument was built into an obelisk, perhaps another attempt to utilize such hidden technology by the United States government, but it has a great deal of metal in it, and therefore cannot be anywhere near as effective as Goulard's pyramids. Dr. John DeSalvo's Great Pyramid Research Association website summarized Dr. Goulard's results along with those of his many professional colleagues. Many different experiments were done using these pyramids that include studies in medicine, ecology, agriculture, physics, and other areas. What is significant about this work is that it has been carried out by top scientists in Russia and Ukraine and scientifically documents the changes that occur in these pyramids. As you can see, this was not occult or armchair science at all. It was being taken very seriously at the highest levels, and serious amounts of time and money were invested into these experiments. I was amazed when I read Dr. Vladimir Krasnoholovitz's summary of this research back in 2001. Even though the English translation made it difficult to follow, I certainly understood the implications of what they had found, and this was a vast, multidisciplinary effort from many top minds of the former Soviet military-industrial complex. After the fall of the Iron Curtain, they still had their research labs and budgets, but didn't have to spend their time fighting wars. Dr. Goulard's pyramids provided them with wonderful opportunities for scientific exploration. The only tragic part of the story was that no mainstream academic journal would publish their results, despite the meticulous care they took in using the strictest scientific protocols. The main reason for this seems to be that entrenched power groups would be heavily threatened by all the technological breakthroughs these discoveries would provide. The Pyramid of Life website explains how much attention these pyramids have generated on an international level. Hundreds of thousands of people, including famous actors, singers, sculptors, majors, and presidents, have already been to the biggest Russian pyramid. The pyramid was built and is researched by scientists. The pyramid was built and is researched by scientists under Alexander Goulard's supervision. Monks from Japan, Korea, and Tibet got interested in the Russian pyramid. They consider it to be the ideal place, meaning the space inside and around it. Their ideas are confirmed by scientific researches made in institutes of the Academy of Sciences. The Russian Academy of Sciences. All the researches showed a positive influence on ecology and human health while visiting the pyramid or using products, crystals, solutions, and objects prepared there. Dr. Goulard's research was taken seriously enough that crystals from his pyramids were flown on the Russian space station Mir for more than a year. Okay, the Russian space station Mir for more than a year, and the experiment was later repeated on the International Space Station. The Pyramid of Life website says these studies have now been covered on CNN, BBC, ABC, AP, Boston Globe, the New York Times, and other international mass media. Pyramid of Life website. Pyramid of Life site says the studies have now been covered on CNN, BBC, ABC, AP, Boston Globe, the New York Times, and other international mass media. As I read about this research back in 2001 and observed the greater implications, I realized that pyramids were indeed the most stunningly advanced technology ever built on Earth. As I read about this research back in 2001 and absorbed the greater implications, I realized that pyramids were indeed the most stunningly advanced technology ever built on Earth. They had been standing there all along, waiting to be inherited, but it was only in our ignorance that we did not recognize such an advanced technology when we saw it. Thankfully, multiple teams of accredited mainstream Russian scientists did the work for us. Their results suggest that pyramid technology and its offshoots could save the world and substantially improve our physical, mental, and spiritual health along the way. So that's really interesting. The pyramid itself, the pyramid power could sustain our mental health, stability along the way, and can preserve inside the pyramid. The pyramid can actually observe, not observe, but have some kind of molecular change to, I guess, the atoms and molecules that make up the inside of the pyramid, or make up the inside of the objects that are inside the pyramid. So that's really cool. The more you learn about it, the more wonderful the implications become. Imagine if you could take a simple drug that helps people fight viruses and suddenly make it 3,000% more powerful. That's exactly what happened in one study from the Ivanovsky R&D Institute of Virology within the Russian Academy of Medical Science. Professor Klimenko and Dr. Nasik were studying a naturally occurring virus-fighting compound in human beings called venoglobulin. When this drug was diluted into a concentration of 50 micrograms per milliliter and stored in a pyramid for a short time, apparently just a few days, it became approximately 3 times more effective at fighting viruses. So that's really interesting too. Strangely, the drug worked just as well as they diluted it more and more, even though normally these ultra weak concentrations, such as 0.00005 micrograms per milliliter. Let me say that again. 0.00005 micrograms per milliliter would have no effect whatsoever in the fight against viruses. If that isn't groundbreaking enough, the healing powers discovered by Professor A.G. Antonov and his associates from the Russian R&D Institute of Pediatrics, Obstetrics, and gynecology are seemingly miraculous in their hospital ward. Miraculous. In their hospital ward, they routinely had a great premature babies with great medical problems who were only given days to live. Since their colleagues knew the pyramid had a remarkable strengthening effect on medication, and the drug itself didn't even seem to be necessary, they tried something even more outrageous. Rather than using any known medicine, they took a simple placebo sample of 40% glucose in distilled water and stored it in the pyramid. By administering only 1 milliliter of the solution to 20 different premature babies who were almost certainly going to die, every single one of them enjoyed a complete recovery. The babies given ordinary glucose solution were just as likely to die as before. Could the pyramid be somehow activating a natural healing chemical in the glucose? They wondered. The only way to find out for sure was to switch to ordinary water and try the same experiment again. But a single milliliter of pyramid water worked just as well. What happens if you put a diseased organism directly inside the pyramid? This is what a Russian Academy of Medical Science group headed by Dr. N.B. Egorova wanted to find out. Two groups of Normal white laboratory mice were given strain 415 of the virus S. Typhimurium, typhoid fever, in equal amounts over the course of one day. The only difference was that one group of mice was kept in the pyramid, and the other group was not. Amazingly, 60% of the mice in the pyramid survived smaller doses of the virus, whereas only 7% survived in the control group. Even in much larger doses of contamination, which would normally kill almost every single mouse, 30% of the pyramid mice still survived, while only 3% of those unlikely enough to be in the control group actually made it. Sorry, my mind was just drifting. I'm trying to understand this. Let me try this again real quick. So, what happens if you put a disease organism directly inside the pyramid? This was a Russian Academy of Medical Science group headed by Dr. N.B. Agrova wanted to find out. The two groups of normal white laboratory mice were given strain 415 of virus S. typhimurium, typhoid fever, in equal amounts over the course of one day. The only difference was that one group of mice was kept in the pyramid and the other group was not. Amazingly, 60% of the mice in the pyramid survived smaller doses of the virus, whereas only 7% survived in the control group. Even in much larger doses of contamination, which would normally kill almost every single mouse, 30% of the pyramid mice still survived, while only 3% of those unlucky enough to be in the control group actually made it. Dr. Agrova also fed pyramid water to mice that had been given nasty carcinogens that would almost certainly give them massive cancerous tumors. The control group was given the same carcinogens, but they were given only ordinary water that had never been inside a pyramid. The control group was given the same carcinogens, but they were given only ordinary water that had never been inside a pyramid. The mice drinking the pyramid water have significantly fewer tumors developed than the mice drinking the ordinary water. No dangerous or ill effects have ever been observed from these healing treatments. Goulard's team found that the taller the pyramid was, the more powerful the effects became. But even the tallest one was still just a little more than a quarter of a height, or a little more than a quarter the height of the Great Pyramid. It does cost money to build these pyramids, yes, but compared to the outrageous spiraling costs of healthcare and the struggle to find effective remedies everyone can afford, it's certainly worth investigating more. If it only takes 1 milliliter of water to save a baby from dying, think about how much healing water even one pyramid could create. Let me read that again. It's certainly worth investigating more. If it only takes 1 milliliter of water to save a baby from dying, think about how much healing water even one pyramid could create. Quantum effects. Quantum effects. Miracle health cures are still only one piece of the puzzle. Remember the effects on molecular structure of razor blades. Other strange quantum effects were discovered as well. For example, chunks of granite and crystal were scattered along the entire floor of Goulard's tallest pyramid for months at a time. I gotta read this again. I'm sorry, my mind is just drifting. Quantum effects. Miracle health cures are still only one piece of the puzzle. Remember the effects on the molecular structure of the razor blades. Remember the effects on the molecular structure of the razor blades? Other strange quantum effects were discovered as well. For example, chunks of granite and crystal were scattered along the entire floor of Goulard's tallest pyramid for months at a time. As we briefly see in some of the videos now online, a faint but visible whitening would occur along the tops of these. Let me read it again, I'm sorry. As we briefly see in some of the videos now online, a faint but visible whitening would occur along the tops of these rocks, which otherwise should have stayed reddish brown. The whitish areas did not appear on all the rocks. They formed a visible ring that was perfectly aligned with the central axis of the pyramid. Between the end of 1997 and the beginning of 1999, this result was duplicated 40 times in 40 times in the same pyramid, with different rocks each time. Each ring covered between 50 and 300 rocks, with a total of weight. I gotta take a break, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm sweating and I'm just tired right now of reading. But I'm gonna take a break right after this paragraph here. I'm gonna finish this paragraph up. So I'll start here then. Between the end of 1997 and the beginning of 1999, this result was duplicated 40 times in the same pyramid, with different rocks each time. Each ring covered between 50 and 300 rocks, with a total weight from 20 to 200 kilograms. Gould's team also gathered evidence suggesting that when these rings formed most clearly, there were also fewer epidemics in the surrounding area. You know what? I want to keep reading, actually. This is really interesting. Dr. Goulad also conducted studies of the air above the pyramid with a Russian instrument known as a military locator, which is similar to a radar. Using this device, a column of unknown energy was detected around the pyramid, some 500 meters wide and 2,000 meters tall. Unfortunately, Goulad did not explain what this energy was, since the entire technology they used to detect it is still classified. They later found that there was an even larger circle of energy around the pyramid that was an astonishing 300 kilometers wide. Okay, I gotta stop here. I'm getting triggered thoughts here. But I hope you're enjoying this so far. I'm on page 148 of the Sourcefield Investigations, and I'll come back with more information soon about the Great Pyramid.